Chris Abate says, or Abate, I'm going to go with Abate. Chris Abate says, how can you be opposed to social justice? Don't you want people to be equal? Well, those are two different questions. First of all, I'm opposed to social justice because social justice does not exist. There's no such thing as social justice. The definition of what social justice is today is personal injustice. So social justice today is the idea that because black people were held as slaves in America 150, 170 years ago, people's great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were slaves. Therefore, they should get opportunities that have to go someplace, slots, quotas. And so what they're basically doing is they're saying that modern white kids, for example, can't get into a school on a quota system because that slot is set aside for a black kid because that black kid's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was a slave. That's social justice. It's not justice. It's injustice. It's if that is taking away from the person who's working the hardest in the present day, then it's injustice. There's no such thing as social justice. Social justice is social engineering. Social justice is political power. I'm a passionate and deep believer in individual justice. So I don't believe in things like hate crimes. If they beat up some guy, let's say, and dragged him behind a truck because he was gay, and he died, that's first-degree murder. It's nothing more than that, and it's nothing less than that. It's first-degree murder. If somebody is denied their job, a job opportunity, because of racial prejudice, well, there are legal remedies for that. There's only individual justice. Because once you start saying that a class of people has been harmed and that class of people has to be, compensated by taking it out on another class of people, then you're not talking about individual guilt or innocence. You're talking about guilt by association over generations and so on. Every time people ask me about social justice and things like reparations for slavery, my question is, if you think reparations for slavery is okay, then at what point can Jewish Americans expect their payment from black Americans whose ancestors held them in slavery in Egypt for 400 or 500 years? Longer than blacks were held as slaves in America. At what point can we expect black Americans to start writing checks to American Jews to compensate them for the years of slavery that the Jewish people were held in bondage during the time of the pharaohs in Egypt? Well, that's ridiculous. How is it ridiculous? How is it more ridiculous than the slavery issue for reparations? We're not talking about these are people's parents or grandparents or themselves. We're talking about great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. It's a lie, and it's part of the giant progressive activity of using moral fig leaves to gain power and money. This is the whole argument, guys. I don't have to go any further than this. You have to understand it's really pretty simple when you get down to brass tacks. It's pretty simple. There are two kinds of people in the world, believe it or not, those who divide the world into two kinds and those who don't. Now, seriously, if you want to talk about things like social justice, taxation, all the rest, you come down to two different attitudes. One is wealth is limited. I don't want to work. The best way for me to get ahead in the world is to redistribute other people's money to me using a legislative power to take money from people who've made money and give it to me. And in order for me to get the money, I have to have a reason to justify this power grab. And the reason and the power, in fact, the power base, will be I'm doing it for poor people. It's a lie. Barack Obama says you've made enough money, you shouldn't have a corporate jet. And he rides around in a 747 in limousines everywhere he goes. It's power and money. So the two kinds of people in the world are people who want to work hard for a living and keep what they make with the understanding that certain government functions are important, limited, reasonable, and we're happy to pay for those. Versus the wealth redistribution people who are lazy, stupid, and venal, and have only one way to get luxury in the world because they're not willing to work. It's not that they can't. It's that they won't. And so I will take that rich guy's money and give it to me, and I'll say I'm doing it for poor people, but really what I'm doing is two things. I'm getting his money and his benefits, so I get to travel around in a limousine, and I get the moral benefit of going out and handing out dimes for the dollars that I collected, and everybody worships the ground that I walk on. I'm talking to you, Jesse Jackson, and Al Sharpton, and the rest of you frauds, who basically tell enormous sections of this population that they're kept down, downtrodden, disadvantaged, taken advantage of, systematically oppressed, when none of this is true. And they then take wealth from people who've earned their wealth, keep a lot of it, if not most of it, distribute dimes on the dollars to these people, and get to be a hero on top of it. It's a criminal racket. It's a criminal racket. That's what it is. So there you go. So I don't believe in social justice. Does that mean I don't believe in justice? On the contrary, if somebody has been harmed, that person needs to be made whole, period. What's so hard to understand about this? If anybody can show me a case, look, if a woman can prove that she's worked the same hours in the same job as a man and she's getting less money than he is, she should sue that company and get compensated for it. And she would, except it doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen because it doesn't happen, because it's against the law. So there you go. So I'm not opposed to individual justice. I think social justice is a fig leaf designed to circumvent actual individual justice. Second part of the question is, don't you want people to be equal? I want people to be equal in a very extremely limited sense. I want people to be equal under the law. And that's all I want them to be equal under. And if you think about this, you're talking about handy answers for liberals. When the equality issue comes right up, just ask them this. When they say, don't you think people should be equal? Well, you say, do you think they should be equal height? What are you talking about? Are you saying you think that everybody should be of equal height? No. Well, then, if some people are taller than others, some people are going to have self-esteem issues, and some people are going to be better basketball players than others. Some people will be better jockeys than others. How can you say you want people to be equal when you don't want them to be equal height? Do you want them to be of equal intelligence? How are you going to enforce that? You know, you can make people of equal intelligence, but you can't make somebody who's got an 80 IQ into somebody who's got 180 IQ. All you can do is take somebody who's got 180 IQ and reduce their abilities down to a person who's got an 80 IQ. So when you say you want people to be equal, do you want them to be equally tall? Do you want them to be equally smart? Should they be able to run equally fast? If the answer is no to all of these things, then you have to ask yourself, what are you trying to say? You're admitting that people are not equal. And they're not equal in every single way. There are no two of us that are exactly equal. So if they're unequal in height, if they're unequal in IQ, if they're unequal in skin color, if they're unequal in speed, in strength, if you have 100 people in a room and you set them off running, one of them is going to cross the line first, and then one of them is going to cross the line last, and there you go. So if they're not equal, then what is it you're trying to say? What you want is you want them to all make the same amount of money, because that somehow presumably makes you feel good and presumably seems fair. But what it really means is, if you want, here's a quick rule of thumb for you folks. If you run into somebody who says everybody should make the same amount of money, that person is below the median income. I guarantee it. And that's all you need to know. In other words, I think we should all make the same amount of money because that would be a raise for me. So when they talk about being equal, what are they really talking about? Oh, so how come somebody has 9 houses and somebody only has 1 house or no houses? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of it's the luck of the draw. People are born into rich families. But most of it is work. Most of it is hard work. Most of it is work, effort, and dedication. And it is absolutely true to say that there are millions of people who don't have the ability to do these things, but not because of their biological shortcomings or because of their intellectual shortcomings, because of their attitudes. It's been drummed into their heads that work is useless to them. No, it's not fair. What's fair is equality under the law. And equality under the law is a certain limited kind of equality that I am 100% in favor of. Equality under the law says that you don't get to go to the front of the line at an ATM because you have more money than somebody else. Equality under the laws. Now, if the bank wants to charge an extra $50 a month and give you a special entrance and special customers, that's a financial transaction. But equality under the law means that rich people don't get a better justice than poor people do in terms of the law. Equality under the law basically means that there's no such thing as the divine right of kings, and there's no such thing as the duke's right of senior, the first, the guy who was the duke could have the first night with anybody who got married. Any peasant married some beautiful peasant girl, he had the right to sleep with her first. That kind of thing. Equality under the law means that any 2 individual citizens of the United States have to be treated equally and without benefit. That's the kind of equality I believe in. And after that, you need to be left alone to run as fast or as slow as you want to. It's up to you. I talk a lot about hard work and success and rewards, but I'm just as fine with you just sitting around and doing nothing. That's entirely fine with me. I don't care. It's really your business. It's your life. I wouldn't promote this level of work that I'm doing for everybody. It's not for everybody, and I wouldn't want to make everybody do it because I don't have that defective gene that has to tell other people what to do. Right now I'm working like an animal. I'm working really hard because I want to get ahead, and I am getting ahead. And if you don't want to do that, and if you want to just at the end of the day go home at 5 o'clock, punch out, sit back and watch TV, or go to football games, or relax and barbecue and do all that's your business. Congratulations. That's grand. That's why everybody should get to make their own choices. But I don't want people to be equal because they're not. And the only way you can make people equal is to use force. And when you use force, millions of people die. So the fact that people aren't the same height, the same speed, the same strength says that people are not equal. They're not. You cannot make them equal. You can only treat them as equal for legal protection purposes, and that allows everyone to start from the same starting line. Equality of opportunity means that everybody has the same starting line. Of this kind of equality, I'm 100% in favor. No one gets to start 20 yards ahead. No one is held back. Everybody gets the same starting line. Off goes the pistol. Run as fast or as far as you want to. Congratulations. Reap or do not reap the appropriate rewards. That's up to you. It's your life. Choose for yourself. Be happy. But equality of opportunity says that everybody has to cross the finish line at the same time with the same amount of money, same number of houses, same number of cars, same number of everything. That can only be achieved by slowing down everybody who's not the fastest person. And the way you do that is through murder and corruption. It's a fig leaf for people who are lazy. So there you go.